The original Lexus Coupe SC400, one giant leap forward in Toyota's fresh hierarchy with no expense spared in an attempt to create the perfect automobile. This is the story of my journey over the last 14 years and why this Toyota is still soaring. So way back in 2006, I had finished backpacking Europe and I came back to Australia and I was ready to buy a car, dying to buy a car. I was looking at R33 Skylines because they're a 6-cylinder turbocharged 2.5 litre. So I took a few of them for a drive. I wasn't really that impressed. And I could always see that there was Soarers lingering in the background. There was one that parked out the front of my place in Bondi and I loved the interior in it, but it sort of looked like a bit of an old man's car. So I never really considered it at the time. I took a few more R33s for a drive. I just wasn't really that impressed. They weren't that fast and they just weren't that good quality. A little bit cheap if you like. Then I decided one day I'll take a Soarer for a drive. So I did. I took this one here for a test drive and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love on the spot. It was the V8, 4-litre quad cam 32 valve V8, Toyota's smoothness. It was so smooth, so refined. Even the 4-speed transmission was refined, dare I say it. But I loved it, and that started my passion for Toyota. To this day, it was this car that made me fall in love with Toyotas and the whole brand name itself. Now I've got to mention this poor car has had a rough life with me. I've driven it to death over the mountains, everywhere you can possibly imagine. But I started to modify it. I pulled the damn thing apart, turned it inside out and upside down. The first thing I did is basically twin turboed the V8. Let's take a look at what I actually did to this poor thing. When I first bought the car, it was royal jade pearl, or green, and I immediately bought some 20-inch rims because they were so cool in 2006. I was working as a restaurant manager in Sydney CBD, and I lived in trendy Bondi, and I only had one communal car space underneath my garage, and I didn't even own a single screwdriver, let alone any tools. So with my head in the clouds, I went and purchased a MIG welder, some steel, and 2jzgte 3082R Garrett turbos. I had the turbos bolted on in no time, and I ran it with a stock auto transmission using a Wolf V500 ECU to control it. It was stupid quick, but I blew 4 trannies in a couple of months. It was a simple version of twin turboing it though, and the engine already had previous overheating issues, so it didn't really last that long, and I decided to rip the original engine out of it and put in a brand new 1UZ. Before I put the new one in though, I decided I would make that a forged engine, so I decided to build the thing. I purchased CP pistons and Eagle rods from the United States, and I got the engine machined locally. Unfortunately, the shop was too busy to drill the block for larger 12mm head studs, so I did that myself. We'll come back to this soon. At the same time, I decided to bang on the Auto Couture or Shine body kit and paint the car. I also flared the rear wheel arches to improve the stance and take wider rubber, which is my favourite external mod still. The gearbox I got to go on was a T56 Tremec, and I had to piece together my own adapter kit because it was one of the first conversions in that day. I got a twin plate clutch also for it. So I finally got the car all finished. Paint, kit, gearbox, engine, diff, and I took it for its first drive. I was devastated when I found coolant dripping from the exhaust. Because I drilled my own head studs, I never got the block resurfaced. I also drilled multi-lad steel head gasket myself, which is not a good idea. So, sadly, out came the V8 for a teardown. Luckily, I had a spare 2jzgte sitting in my garage doing nothing for the last 2 years, so it went in. This car is 100% as analog as you can possibly imagine. It is super loud in here though. The steering's terrible. There's a lot of bad things about the way this car drives, but there's a lot of things that just make you have fun whilst you're driving it. The 6-speed box has made this car come alive, there's no doubt. It's got a twin plate clutch, and it was a very nasty twin plate, but now it's sort of settled in, and I love it. It's really, really comfortable. Everything about this car is just hands-on. You're driving the car is not driving you by any means. It is as basic can be. Yes, I've taken a lot of the Lexus out of this and put in more Toyota. Yeah, but it goes. Man, it goes. Even with these stock twin turbos, this thing can spec. It will smack my Supra on its ass. It's only running 17 PSI at the moment, but it's just so responsive, this engine. I don't know why, it's just better than the Supra one. Yeah. This is standard blow-off valve everything. Tell you what, it's no wonder 2JZs are just such a swapped engine, and why S13s and 14s, S chassis just came and pinched all of them, because man, it's just such a treat to drive these things. Don't even need revs, the torque's there. It's a beautiful car to drive. This would make a great drift car. As for the interior in this thing, well, yeah, it's hell dated, and I've ripped the whole thing apart. There's no stereo there. This steering wheel is hideous. This is the worst steering wheel. It's like a bus or something. But these seats are incredible. These things will never live it down. Leather seats, they're plush, fully electric. I mean, these things are really comfortable. You can go a long way in this car. It's not got really hard springs in it either. This is actually a very comfortable cruising car. And in 6th gear with the T56 box, I'm cruising it just on 2,000 RPMs at 110 kilometers an hour. So it gets incredible fuel mileage. This is a cruiser. It does have a bit of a drone though, I've got to say. That's why every car I build from now on is going to have flapped exhaust, so an adjustable pitch exhaust, starting with the Supra. Please subscribe if you want to see me put a pitch adjustable exhaust into the Toyota Supra. So where do I go next with this car? Well, actually I've decided to leave the 2jzgte engine in it and just enjoy it for a while. As for the twin turbo V8, well, that's going to go into a Supra UZA80 build, possibly with an M4 BMW DCT. Subscribe if you want to see me put the V8 twin turbo into a Supra. That's all for this one, folks. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Clayton Carlisle. This is Supra VWORLD, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.